Hello, it's day 3 and the sun is shining. A very warm welcome to all of our guests joining today. My name is Nikki Jones and I'm absolutely delighted to be your host for today's event, as well as for the remainder of this week as we celebrate a full week of Everyone Can Automate. The response to our past 2 days has truly surpassed our expectations, both in terms of attendee numbers and requested follow-up. So a huge, heartfelt thank you for your participation. It's no secret this event comes at a very exciting time for the industry, as some of you will have heard from our very passionate CEO, Mihir Shukla, in opening on Monday. It's undeniable that there's a tectonic shift happening in the automation space, which, as we know, has been fueled by a couple of things, like a global pandemic, which then accelerated the digital transformation agenda. We have increasing technological innovations, and so the list goes on. But until recently, automation has been employed in businesses primarily looking to streamline and accelerate tasks for back office functions like finance, accounting, and human resources. All very important, but as we'll hear today, not the only game in town. As automation, AI, and work converge in the enterprise, new technologies are emerging that address the shifting skill set of enterprise workers and how they, or rather we, consume technology. We've all learned from Google. We've learned from our iPhones, and in my case, I learn on a daily basis from my tech-savvy children. We've learned from advances in consumer technology, the need to make technology in the enterprise easier to use, easy to consume, and easy to access. If we look at this story through a digital assistant lens, we have this concept of skills, which are built-in capabilities. In an Alexa environment, a skill might be playing music, answering questions, or giving you the weather forecast on a daily basis here in the UK. Now look at this same concept, but within the enterprise, and the ability to understand and process a lot of content, especially as the volume and complexity of content continues to grow exponentially. Valuable information and insights vital for decision taking lives within your CRM, BPM, and ERP systems. To leverage the value of that information, businesses need to quickly, automatically extract and understand all of the relevant data and integrate that information into every aspect of business. So the role of automation is changing so that it can automate tasks and deliver information both from and into systems. The benefits are going to be amazing. Rapid deployment, easy to configure, easy to consume. Human-like performance without the need for outages, such as weekends, summer holidays, and the occasional sick day. Now, for those of you who may have missed our many LinkedIn posts over the last week, Everest Group named Automation Anywhere a leader in its robotic process automation assessment for 2021. This is the 5th year we've been named a leader among the 23 vendors evaluated, so you can imagine the excitement. We were recognized not only for our cloud-native platform, our pre-built integrations, and our Google Cloud relationship, but our ability to bring new consumer-like experience to the enterprise through ARI, our bot-to-human interface, simplifying everyday tasks, which is where today's presentation, and in fact all sessions this week have and will continue to be focused. And this is precisely why we're launching this event, to help companies like yours get ahead, or in many cases, stay ahead of the automation curve. Now, if you're anything like me, you'll no doubt have 101 questions. Could I encourage you to ask those questions in the event chat, which, by the way, we will be monitoring throughout the event and will address, time permitting, at the end or immediately afterwards in follow-up with you directly. So, without further ado, I'm ready to get started, and hopefully you are too. There feels like no better time to introduce today's presentation. Everyone in IT can automate, and I'm thrilled to welcome to the virtual stage our very own Sumit Johar, who will share how his organization is leveraging the latest developments in automation to further our internal IT business. Sumit, over to you.
Well, thank you, Nikki, and good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to everyone in IT Can Automate session. My name is Sumit Johar, and I'm the CIO at Automation Anywhere. I joined the company around 3 months back. Although I'm new to the company, I'm not new to automation space. Out of the 22 years that I've been in the IT industry, I've spent around 15 years working for other companies that are also in automation space. And during this time, I got a chance to closely watch how automation space has evolved over time. So, why are we calling this session Everyone in IT Can Automate? Well, you might be thinking IT is supposed to be full of technologists, anyways. It should be a lot easier for everyone in IT to automate their processes. Well, yes and no. In most organizations, IT supports multiple business functions, and it suffers from the same automation challenges like any other business group. Repetitive, mundane tasks that leave very little bandwidth for creative and productive work. The bottom line is that existence of a technology has no value unless it can be consumed by everyone. And making this argument today actually is a lot easier than before. If you look around yourself, we've been literally living our lives on internet for the last 18 months. We're all working for our homes, attending webinars like this one, having grocery delivered to us while our kids are doing their schooling from homes. All of this was possible not because the internet technology existed, but because it was accessible to everyone. Having said that, the pace of transformation is not consistent across all enterprises. So, what I plan to share with you today is the common challenges that IT teams and their leaders are facing every day to scale and transform their business. We'll also talk about how automation space is evolving in general and what does it mean for all of us. Well, some time back, we conducted a survey and we asked our customers about their technology challenges around business transformation. We got a lot of feedback, but most of the feedback actually falls in these three categories. On the top of the list is cost of running operations and the technical debt that's slowing the transformation. The problem of technical debt actually is much bigger for companies that are older than 10 years. Technology has changed a lot in the last decade. You can't wait for all of your ERP upgrades or your cloud migrations to complete before you transform your business. Second challenge that we hear about is the end user experience, the employee experience. Well, more and more apps are being procured by teams outside IT. Some like to call it rogue IT, some others call it shadow IT. But Gartner says that in 2020 itself, around 15% of total technology spent was made by teams outside IT. This is a trend that's bound to continue because technology is not as mysterious to business anymore. But as a result of that, the number of apps within any organization is growing really, really fast. Your data is getting out of your control, and IT leaders are struggling to provide consistent experience to their employees. Last one on the list is growing cybersecurity risks. Every week we hear about ransomware attacks. Every CIO that I know complains about not having enough staff or technology to work around these risks. Well, the natural question to ask is why aren't we able to reduce our operating cost or our risks or even providing a great employee experience by applying the same automation technologies that we are already invested in? Well, the answer lies in our approach to automation. For a long time, the scope of automation was just limited to enabling some data transfer between applications or maybe running some workflows across applications. But this is 2021 and the world around has changed completely. What worked before is not working anymore, and I'll explain that in coming slides. So let's look at the evolution of automation technologies. You might say automation technologies have been in play for such a long time. What's different this time? And where is it positioned to go from here? Well, let's look back at how the automation technologies have evolved over time. For the last 10 to 20 years, most companies have invested in iPaaS kind of platforms. For many years, these platforms did a great job connecting independent applications while enabling data transfer between them. But the challenge with this approach was that you were always at the mercy of APIs for each touch point. Secondly, API-based approach didn't quite scale because of the time and effort it took to automate business processes. In my past life, I've spent years helping my other clients with API-based integrations. And I remember it used to take at least 2 to 3 months on average for every single automation use case. Lastly, APIs aren't compatible with legacy systems. You are still left with the same amount of technical debt in your organization that's slowing down your employees. That's why in phase two of automation, RPA was able to disrupt this market by taking an entirely different approach to automation. RPA focused at replicating human actions. With its low code, drag and drop approach, a knowledge worker, IT or outside IT, with bare minimum training was able to start automating processes in weeks that otherwise would require months. Many enterprises are now applying RPA using a citizen developer approach while trying to democratize automation. And although we absolutely recommend that model, you still have to take administration, deployment, and security into account. And they should always stay with a centralized group, and that could be your IT organization. Now that RPA has proved its approach, question is where do we go from here? Well, so far the automation did not have a face to it. It was always running as a background process, and your users could not either engage with it or control it. Well, this approach was well suited for processes that did not require human input. But it wasn't adequately addressing the ones that actually do. So that's about to change now in phase three with RE and human bot collaboration. While core RPA will provide intelligent bots by combining the power of AI, RE ensures that everyone is able to access these bots and engage with them from a common interface. Not only can you automate more types of processes, but now every knowledge worker can leverage automation in a way that directly benefits their role. In the coming years, we expect most knowledge workers to have a digital assistant that takes care of their mundane, repetitive tasks like conducting an audit, onboarding an employee, or handling a security alert. So, in previous slides, we talked about increasing complexity of growing applications at workplaces in general. Let's double click on it, as it's not just applications. A common IT knowledge worker deals with a complex maze of touch points, and that includes documents, logs, machines, websites, emails, and the list goes on. If you are a network administrator, you probably spend a lot of time troubleshooting the network issues, looking at firewall or VPN logs. If you're a security professional, you must scan through hundreds of alerts every day to figure out what real threats you should be spending time on. If you are a help desk professional, you are probably approving applications access or assigning machines and servers for your employees. In all these roles, more time gets spent on repetitive tasks like collecting and analyzing the data while switching between all sorts of applications and documents. When we did an internal survey within our own IT team, we found that 40% of IT knowledge workers interact with more than 20 digital touchpoints every single day. Out of these, half of them actually engage with more than 30 digital touchpoints every day. We were clear that we have reached a point of diminishing returns where adding more productivity tools itself is not making us more productive. This is when we started our journey with RE, a digital assistant that allows humans and bots to work hand in hand while trying to automate the repetitive tasks that take place across all these touchpoints. So, by reducing the need to engage with tens of applications separately, my team members now have more time in their day to day, every day to resolve more cases, spend more time on productive tasks. If this sounds far fetched, it's actually much more feasible than you might think. And we'll show you how it's already happening at Automation Anywhere with some real life use cases that my team has implemented. Let me now invite Kapil, our VP of Systems from my team, who will share how our own IT team is leveraging RE for our day to day operations.
Thank you, Sumit. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kapil Vyas, and I'm the VP of IT and Systems and lead our automation at Automation Anywhere team here, reporting to Sumit. Now, today we have two exciting RE use cases that we'd like to showcase. One in the IT audit and compliance space, and the other is an IT help desk or a workbench RE use case that we hope might spark good ideas and bring value to your automation journey. So without wasting any time, let's dive right into the first use case. Now, over the last few years, as we were looking to get compliant with numerous certification standards, such as the ISO 27001, the SOC 1, the SOC 2, the HITRUST, and many more, our information security team spent countless hours performing these audits where they had to collect and analyze and then cross-verify various policies and procedures, reporting any gaps which may potentially result in security risks leading to further non-compliance. Now, we realized the need to automate a lot of those manual efforts. And one such example was that of the audit bot, which we used for our weekly and our monthly IT audits on access management. The best part here is that the auditor uses the power of RE as a digital assistant and can on demand execute the audit process for user access or privileged user or administrator level audits to be performed. What we will see in this use case is that the bot extracts records from all active employees from the Workday HRMS, which is the central source of truth, and then compares this data with a single sign-on system of record, Okta, and generates a detailed audit report. Similarly, during the privileged user access audit, the bot tracks any changes that were made to the administrator alleviated access permissions to generate a detailed report to action. So, in this use case, we're talking about Okta and Workday, but remember, the power of this is that we could do this for any application, be it your CRM, your ERP, anything that you'd like to audit. This is an overview of the process that's being automated. The auditor logs into RE, simply selects the system to be audited, and runs the bot. As we wait for the data extraction screen, at the back end, the data extraction happens from Workday, where the bot logs into the Workday environment, extracts the master data Workday report, and compares the data based on the audit rules and the parameters with Okta, and provides the audit result. An email is also sent highlighting the audit status, specifying the number of users who have passed or failed. The privileged user and the admin user audit process. It runs the same way within RE. The auditor selects the application that he wants to audit. In this case, it's Okta. The results show how many modifications have occurred since the last audit period, especially on the users with administrative privileges. Now, as you saw in that use case, the man-hours saved are enormous. And just the fact that our InfoSec team doesn't have to do this manually every single time does a whole load good to their spirit as well. So in summary, this helps with our security posture, reducing manual errors, keeping our compliance, and also giving great visibility and detailed reports on any gaps found for the audit team to action. Now, don't forget, there's another opportunity to save on unused licenses and license seats on various third-party applications that often goes unnoticed when a user leaves the organization for a long time. Let's move on to use case number 2. This is a classic example of how RE and Automation 360 have transformed the way our IT engineers work to resolve tickets. Now, as you all know, as part of an engineer's daily job, he or she needs to navigate through multiple IT applications to resolve various tickets and requests. Response times and making sure that the team follows the right process is absolutely critical to the success of any help desk. How about we minimize this effort and have engineers only log into RE where they can kick off their respective bots that takes care of various repetitive tasks. User management, license management, VPN assignment, URL whitelisting, blacklisting, DL management, and role provisioning that may require human intervention or approvals. Let's dive straight into the demo. Now, in the automated workflow box that you see below, we see the bots streamline the approval process and perform all the activities required for the IT technician to close the ticket. Moving on to the demo. The technician starts his or her day by logging into the ticketing system to look at all the open tickets. And as you can see, he or she finds a user wanting request to a specific application. The engineer analyzes the ticket if it's an approval process is required and then logs straight into RE. Selects an application assignment job, fills in the user details, and runs the bot. The bot in the backend logs into the single sign-on application, assigns the application to the specified user, and comes back with a status. Now, in this case, the engineer will also have the ability to notify the end user via email and update and even close the ticket directly from RE. Now, using the power of RE, we dramatically improved our response times and end user experience and our CSAT scores by delegating all the repetitive work to the bots and streamlining the human approval steps. This left our IT engineers to focus on the high priority projects and implementations. Now, I hope that was useful. Thank you all. Back to you, Sumit.
Well, that was a great demo, and thank you for showing us those use cases, Kapil. I can especially relate to the on-demand audit one. I remember in my past life, my compliance team had to spend weeks, if not months in some cases, trying to manually collect data from hundreds of applications and checking their compliance status. So really good one. Well, now that you understand how RE can make your employees more productive, you might be thinking, what does it take to enable it? Is this just a matter of, deploying something that's already there on the cloud? Does it require upgrading your platform, or is it anything more than that? But the good news is that RE deployment is actually very seamless for our existing customers that are using A360 version. You might need small tweaks to your existing bots so they can engage with RE, but no need to modify its core functionality. You don't need to install any software. It's a completely web-based cloud experience. And RE integrates really well with your existing single sign-on provider. We recommend that you identify someone like a process champion from your business teams, because they can help you build a brand new experience, and they can help you train their team members also. You actually don't need a hardcore technologist to train your business teams when it comes to RE. We were up and running in a matter of weeks as the bots were already there. All we had to do was just a little bit of tweaking, and off we go. So that's all from our side. I'm sure you'll have a bunch of questions for us. If you have any questions, please ask in the comment section, and we'll try to answer as many as we can today.
Thank you, Sumit, for that inspirational, eye-opening presentation. I almost can't wait to get to Q&A as I can see the questions pouring in. But before we do, let me steal a moment to share with you a special offer. Friends of Everyone Can Automate, if you would like to start your journey with RE now, we are sharing with you a 50% discount code, entitling you to 50% discount on your RE licenses. Now, as you might expect, terms do apply. So please flag your interest by dropping us a note to everyone@automationanywhere.com, and we'll send you the information about the offer and how you can get started. Our team were overwhelmed by the response to this yesterday. I think the first request for details came in less than 30 seconds after we finished broadcasting. So that email address for you just one more time, everyone@automationanywhere.com. Right, guys, are you ready? Let's dive into the Q&A and have a look at some of those questions. Right, which one? We have loads of questions here. Okay, first one. How much time did it take to build the audit bot, which you mentioned, Kapil? Do you plan to expand its scope for other audit activities? Can you give us some more context around that?
Sure. So the audit bot from design to production, all the way to production, took us about 2 weeks to really take it from ideation all the way to production, right? And to your second question, which is, do we plan to expand its scope? Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing so much value in just how well these audit bots are working for our audit and compliance requirements. It's just amazing. So we're doing it all across IT, right from asset audits, for example, and this is mapped to our central hardware asset repository to make sure that whatever is in our central asset repository is actually out there with the end users. Patch audits is another area that we're looking at to keep all our systems compliant, our endpoints compliant. Whether our endpoints have the required antivirus, the MDMs, and all other required applications are always in check. We're also using audit bots for just the third-party app savings. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity to save because we tend to, as I mentioned in the demo, we tend to miss out on removing unused licenses once people leave the organization, for example, and that's an area where we are planning to increase our scope all over. Nikki.
Thank you, Kapil. Sumit, anything you'd like to add to that? I think we got a pretty good answer there from Kapil, but anything you'd like to add?
These are all great. These are all great examples, Nikki. The only thing I will add here is, we have to constantly prove to our compliance teams that we're taking all the required actions to make sure that we are a responsible company and we take security very seriously. And part of doing that job is to make sure that our administrators or users have the right permissions and they're not overly privileged. So one of the activities that actually Kapil's team performs on a monthly basis is to audit what kind of access which teams have, and are there users which are overprivileged? Do they have more permissions than they need to do their job? This used to be a manual, activity that used to perform. It would take days, and now with the bot RE-based experience, we are hoping we can completely automate that, run it on demand, and maybe complete this within minutes and not days or hours.
That's almost the perfect segue to another question that I've got here, actually, Samuel. One challenge we face is that some folks in IT have concerns about security and safety of RPA. Do you have a default set of security standards and best practices that your bots follow? That might be a natural next question.
Sure. And let me first start by saying, Nikki, first of all, we take security very, very seriously. I mean, we are a cloud platform provider. And, we know that for our customers who are, running their operations in all possible scenarios, all business verticals, security is paramount. So just like any other responsible platform provider, we have taken into account all aspects of security, whether it is, how we save our, user credentials, or, how we protect your data. There are best practices that we follow. On top of that, we are a certified company. I mean, internally, all of our cloud operations, our IT operations, they're all ISO 27001 certified. We are HITRUST certified. So even though we recommend following a center of excellence model, a federated model, we always recommend that when it comes to security, there has to be a central function that takes care of that. And the platform provides all tools, bells and whistles that you need to be able to accommodate that. Kapil, is there anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm talking more from an IT deployment perspective, like secure deployment. I think, our bots are always deployed securely in a secure bot runner. which is accessible only internally within our the Automation Anywhere team. Credentials, again, which is something that end users or business users kind of worry about. These are stored at all times securely in the credential vault. Clear role-based access control is also enabled. So not all the users and runners, etc., have access or needs access. It's only need-based, and just granular auditing capabilities, which is part of the Automation Anywhere tool. Single sign-on is another area as well, Sumit, that we take care. So, and of course, all the certifications, then internal best practices that we follow just to add up to the overall security standard.
Kapil, thank you, and Sumit also. I mean, I think we've pretty much answered the question. If there are any more questions relating to that particular topic, I think we all appreciate how important and vital security, audit, and compliance are. So we'd be happy to share content with you on that particular subject. But I know it's something that comes up on a regular basis with our customers. These questions have to be asked, and when we thoroughly understand that. Another one that's interesting here, you're automating quite a lot of processes within IT. Which other functions within the company are asking for RPA-driven automation, and how is IT playing a role? Well, I can tell you right out the box that sales is asking, like, we can't get automation into the sales department quickly enough. So I'll just put that right out there. But Kapil, Sumit, how would you like to answer?
Well, I can start. Nikki, all you need is one good idea to start a revolution. And I think once our business users, got this taste of technology, once they realize, first of all, what's possible and how quickly you can build automation, I think internally we are being bombarded with all sorts of requests from all departments internally. Our marketing, our HR teams, they initially took the lead. If anybody has not attended the HR webinar, I would strongly recommend that our CHRO, Nancy, runs these sessions on a monthly basis. There are lots of interesting use cases that HR team has implemented about, how to onboard an employee, how to conduct their, performance appraisals. There is a whole lot of automation that can be, that has already been implemented. So those departments are kind of leading the journey here. But now I'm getting requests from, let's say, sales operations teams. Security operations team is an area where lots of requests are coming. So it started from back office operations. In IT, it started from infrastructure, and now it's slowly trickling down to front office, use cases. I'll give you one example. So when it comes to managing our CRM, sales operations teams, our marketing operations teams, one of the frustrating part of their jobs is how much data entry and data cleanup work that is involved in their day-to-day job. When you onboard a new customer, somebody has to look at the information that came from an email, create a customer in the CRM system, and then over time you start having all these duplicate customer accounts that become a distraction for everybody, right? So right now we are looking at creating some bots which can take away the customer onboarding process and cleaning up the duplicate mess that exists. All of that, our goal is using REF codes to be able to have bots do that job. And wherever there is any little subjectivity that's involved, let humans do that. But humans in operations teams and bots are going to be working hand in hand on solving these use cases.
Well, there's one human here that would very much like an ARI interface to build PowerPoint presentations. And I know from Nancy's presentation yesterday that she's got that one nailed. So I will be sending you an email, Sumit, in follow-up.
I will add that to my list.
Another question that's coming. We've got questions flying at me all over the place here at the moment. You talked about automation transformation in your presentation, and one of the questions here, can some of the use cases you have highlighted be automated using APIs? Can you give me a use case where API-based automation will not suffice? Who wants to take that one?
Absolutely, and great question, Nikki. And before I answer that, I should clarify that our platform provides you flexibility to use APIs or not use APIs. I mean, that's the beauty of the platform. For a long time, the automation, the platforms were limited. The traditional platforms were limited that you could only integrate or automate processes that expose APIs. As I was explaining in my presentation earlier, that limitation does not exist anymore. You can rely on replicating human actions uh, as as any knowledge worker performs a job on a UI based interface. You can pretty much use the same set of actions and replicate them. That's what you can achieve using RPA. Now you can also use APIs in some cases, but the challenge there is, number one, there are cases where the APIs are either not very mature or they may not even be available to you. This is especially the case if you're working for, let's say, for a large organization which is dealing with a lot of technical debt, legacy systems. Take an example, a bank. Lots of systems are out there which are functioning, which are being used even today, but they don't expose too many APIs. That's problem number one. Second problem is, and this takes me back to my time when I used to build automation for my customers. I remember even with APIs, it used to take months to build to solve for one use case. So I would strongly recommend our customers to look at every single use case and ask themselves, how much time would it take me if I try to build this automation using APIs, or if I try to use it by replicating human actions on a UI based approach, and then decide based on these two criteria, should you go left or should you go right? Either way, you can solve your problem, but you can solve your problem faster and more efficiently in one of these ways based on which use case you're dealing with.
Thank you. Kapil, I can see you.
No, I was just appreciating Sumit. He just nailed it. So yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add to that, but I think bang on, right? I mean, it's just I go left or I go right. I mean, if a process really needs 15, 20 things or steps to go, versus if you have an available API, which is very basic, simple to integrate, well, I would take that route. But a lot of times internally, we have seen a lot of traditional systems which don't have these public APIs. We don't have a choice but to go down the RPA and the UI approach.
Awesome, thank you. Well, Sumit, you heard it here first. Kapil said you nailed it, so good job.
It's too kind.
Another live question just coming in. We're going to switch gears slightly from APIs to Ari. Ari is executed in the control room. There's a question mark after it, so I'm not sure if that's a question or a statement, but how much does it consume in terms of resources? Are we delving a bit deep there, or can we give a steer?
I would let Kapil take that question. As far as I understand, Nikki, Ari is a web-based cloud, hosted platform. So I don't think a normal customer should be too worried about how many cycles or CPU cycles Ari is going to consume, unless he's actually hosting it on-prem. Kapil might be able to go slightly deeper than me. Kapil, what's your take on that?
No, I think that's it, right? It's basically in the control room. So there's no additional use cases. I'm sorry, there's no additional CPU consumption or anything that's related to performance which it would take. It's all that it does. It does not consume a lot of resources. It's more like how much resource would it take for you to run any other website? That's it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, nice and straightforward.
The way to look at this, Nikki, also is, Ari is combining the power of a number of bots that all are already running. Ari is not trying to use additional CPU resources to automate your tasks. It's simply tying these bots together, providing you an interface for you to engage with you, but not necessarily taking a lot more capacity to add automation. That part is already being done using existing bots. It's just an interface for you.
You say interface. There's a phrase which I've been in this industry for a very long time, and it's really a phrase that I don't like: single pane of glass. Like, I'm cringing as I say the words, but I often feel myself likening Ari to that very thing, right? It's a window through. It gives me, the user, that window, that view to the world of automation, which sits behind. Gives me the access.
That's
okay,
right.
Cool. Okay, next question on the live stream. We're going a little bit more practical now. Do you have RPA COE within your, do you have an RPA COE within your organization? So do we have one here within AA? How does it function? And what was your approach to putting it together? It's quite a big question. Who wants to take that one?
I'll start, and Kapil, you can add to it. A couple has got a little more history because I've joined only recently, but we first of all, let me answer that, Nikki. We do have a center of excellence here. It started in within IT, and over time it has grown to become a federated model where business teams from inside and outside IT are now part of it. And our approach is very simple. The way what we wanted to achieve through this center of excellence team is that, hey, we need participation from our business teams. We were very clear that we cannot be successful if we do not have our business teams, skin in the game. We wanted their participation, and we wanted their participations more than just giving us requirements. And that's where it gets interesting. So when we sat with them, we said, hey, these are the possible ways you can contribute to this program. We came up with 3 possible roles for our business teams to engage with us. One of them was a citizen development model. Now, you might ask, business teams don't hire developers, so what do you mean by that? Well, I would challenge that slightly because I know every business teams, whether it is sales, marketing, finance, all of them have operations teams. And if you look at the skill set of these teams, they are slightly, and in some cases, much more technical than a normal business person. So we targeted those employees in these teams to say, you have the right skill set. If you can write macros in a spreadsheet, I think you can write bots for us. So we tried to turn them by training them, providing them a couple of days worth of training and turn them into citizen developers. That's number one. Second role that we thought of was, hey, it's okay if you don't want to be a developer. It's okay if you don't want to be involved in building the bots, but you might be having lots of ideas about automation because you know your business processes more than anybody else, right? And we really need your input around that. So we said, let's call that as a process champion role. So we invited a few people from each team to say, you are process champions and you're going to have some citizen developers work with you. And the third role we have was program leaders, because if we do not have our business teams help us on the leadership part of running this program, it will again come back to just running this program being run by IT. And we did not want this to be just an IT-led program. So as a combination of these 3 roles, program leaders, citizen developers, and process champions, we made individual teams from each business teams. And we said, go run the show, but in the end, you need to come back and work with us. A central team is going to review the ROI for your use cases. It's going to engage with you to make sure you're following the right use cases. All of that oversight is provided by us, but the actual development and actual automation is being built every single day by these business teams working hand in hand with us. That's how our center of excellence team is organized, and that's how it's functioning today. Kapil, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and definitely, I think, a critical piece of this whole thing is also just the air cover that, it's IT led in one way. We started it. And then, just we were able to drive the whole program with all those roles very quickly. In fact, the minute, I think when we announced that there are functional leads, there's process owners or evangelists, developers, citizen developers, you'd be amazed to the number of people who actually volunteer and they actively participate. This is when people start realizing the value that automation is able to bring to the table and help them in their daily tasks, you'll be amazed with the participation. Just another very quick point is, it all starts with a bot first methodology, right? When we started the program, we were like, in everything we're going to do, we're going to see where we're going to automate first. And we got the executive blessing, and you would be amazed with the amount of creativity and bot creativity that we actually got in here.
Thanks, Kapil. And rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, you will be seeing some of that creativity over the next couple of days as we have what I call that hybrid model, that citizen developer and citizen consumer all rolled into one, presenting on Thursday and on Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, sadly, we're out of time. I want to thank you for being here with us today. I hope you enjoyed our content, and I hope Sumit and Kapil have inspired you. Please don't forget we're back here tomorrow with the legend that is Sean Gurley. Sean, in his own unique way, will share with you how everyone in operations can automate. Sneak preview, think contact center of the future. It's certain to be an eye-opener. Please tune in and bring those operations colleagues with you. Take care and thank you.